Remember when I said I wasn't going to come up with theories for Infinite before the release of Sonic Forces? This is why. As I said before in my quick theory video, I didn't want to come up with a theory without being introduced to the character. I knew that all of these really cool Tails Game Gear and Avatar Buddy theories were eventually going to become outdated, along with various other theories about the game. That doesn't mean I didn't have any theories of my own. In fact, I almost released a video describing my various thoughts on who Infinite was going to be, but I just held back from uploading anything because, like with many other channels, I didn't want to look back at one of my theories and facepalm. All of these theories were the basis of the hype, along with Sega's little teasers of the game. But because so many fans looked into this game too deeply, they were outraged when it was released. You can even see that some fans didn't like it when I defended the game.
You defended the game? How dare you? You couldn't even make me as the Avatar.
Oh yeah, say hi to my new mascot thing.
Don't avoid the subject.
Okay, so I defended the game. I'll cover that in a few minutes, so please, everyone, keep your hands off your keyboards until the end of the video. So, for those of you who aren't too aware of Sonic Forces for whatever reason, Sonic Forces is the latest Sonic game released by Sega and acts as a sequel to Sonic Mania. Although it is also considered a sequel for Sonic Generations, which was released back in 2013, I think. The story revolves around Eggman taking over the world and Sonic disappearing for a long period of time, so a bunch of characters we know and love group together to form the Resistance. A new villain is introduced, Infinite, who is shrouded in mystery. Of course, Sonic turns out to be alive and joins the picture, along with classic Sonic, who appears from Sonic Mania's ending, and the newest member of the Resistance, your own custom character.
Yeah, not me.
First off, I'm going to go straight into criticizing classic Sonic's appearance. The idea of Sonic Forces being linked to Sonic Mania was another reason for this game being so hyped. Many people were picking up on the hints immediately, such as the original Sonic Forces E3 trailer where the Phantom Ruby sound effects could be heard when Infinite first appeared. But in execution, the idea didn't seem quite as interesting. Classic Sonic really didn't do much, and his segments were the least enjoyable. Modern Sonic and the Avatar both had 2D platforming sections in some of their levels, so to have more levels with this style of gameplay was rather tedious. Not only that, but the controls for Classic Sonic weren't the best. The game would have been so much better without Classic Sonic. He literally did nothing, and Tails seemed to get too attached to him for no reason. I understand that he probably spent a lot of time with him, since he interacts with Classic Sonic the most throughout this game. But as a player we only see this a few times because the story is so quick-paced. And that's another thing I'm going to talk about. The pace of the game is too fast for no reason. I've played quite a few games with rush plots, but those games are usually quite long. For example, one franchise I am personally fond of is the Resident Evil franchise. One of the most underrated titles, Code Veronica, had a rushed love story between two of the main characters called Claire and Steve, but the game itself was long and had various other stories going on, so it made up for the rushed content. I feel as though Sonic Forces also tried to have a few stories going on, classic Sonic going after the Phantom Ruby, Shadow and his past with Infinite, shown in episode Shadow DLC, the Avatar's past with Infinite, Omega being deactivated for a long period of time, Sonic's defeat and then his return for revenge, Eggman conquering the world. Yet every single story felt rushed. As I just said about Code Veronica, other stories in the game made up for the one rushed story. I also mentioned how the game itself was long. This was not the case with Sonic Forces. I have 4 hours on my record and I'm pretty sure that final hour was just me struggling on the final boss, and I had played it through on hard mode. Of course, I didn't do all the side missions, but side missions are not what add to the depth of the story. In Sonic Generations, we were made to play little missions in order to get keys for the gates. That made the game longer, but even without those missions, the story didn't go faster than Sonic. Trying to have so many complex stories in the game, which can be completed in 4 hours or less, makes the experience feel like well, nothing. There was no character development. We didn't see why Tails cared so much about Classic Sonic because there's only about 26 minutes of cutscenes in the entire game, and heck, there's even narration on screen.
You know, you're digging yourself into a great big hole. You need to explain why you defended the game.
Hold on. There's just one more thing I need to talk about. The plot itself. So, from this point on, I will be talking about the parts of the plot, so... spoiler warning. You have been warned. I don't know, I'll leave a link or something to when I stop talking about the plot. Look out for that. So, I've already talked about the story throughout this video, but I want to talk about particular things which irritated fans. First of all, there's Infinite. I told you at the start of this video how so many Infinite theories were completely destroyed by the time Sonic Forces was released, and his backstory wasn't even covered in the game. Yes, it was partially shown in the episode Shadow DLC, but even then there wasn't enough to satisfy the fans. Think back to games like Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2, when we were introduced to characters like Chaos and Shadow. They were completely mysterious, but as we played through the games as different characters, we would see more to them. We would see their respective pasts. With Infinite, we see one cutscene of Shadow calling him weak, and then Infinite gets all butthurt.
You do realize that Infinite's story was covered in a Sonic Forces prequel comic, right?
If you expect me to consult external media to understand the game's plot, you're wrong.
What?
It's bad storytelling. A comic can expand on the story and add more detail. But if all the detail is in the comic, then that just makes the game even more soulless than it already is. Infinite was barely relevant. Sure, he defeated Sonic and had the Phantom Ruby, but at the end of the day the game didn't really need him. If he had more depth, he would have been more memorable. I'm not saying he's a forgettable character. He has so much potential. But none of it was really shown in Sonic Forces aside from his edginess. And of course, we see random characters thrown into the game. Not just Classic Sonic, but Silver, Omega, the Chaotix, Chaos. What did they do again? Silver talked a lot, but why was he there? Omega came in at the end and missed a shot aimed at Infinite, so we barely needed him. The Chaotix just yelled at the player and did nothing. Chaos literally got bonked on the head and that was it. So many characters were quite honestly useless. The Phantom Ruby was confusing as all hell. Was it real? Was it an illusion? Explain it all you want, but that won't make it any less confusing. Not only that, but what were the limits? Infinite made thousands of clones of Zavok, Chaos, Metal Sonic and Shadow. Why not just make an army of Sonics? After all, allegedly these clones were as powerful as the original, just without a soul. An army of soulless Sonics would be better than an army of soulless Metal Sonics. And why not just build an army of Metal Sonics? Sonic literally pointed out that problem in the game. There are also other gameplay issues such as the reskin of Metal Sonic's boss fight into Infinite's final battle, but you've probably heard those complaints on other channels while binge watching Sonic Forces rants. I know what you do in your spare time.
Great! Now can you please talk about why you defended it?
Very well, I've ranted for long enough. I've made the game seem terrible, but that's not the case. Allow me to explain some of the good things about this game. There are many bad games in the Sonic franchise, some of which I love, Sonic 06, but that doesn't make them any less terrible than they are. Shadow the Hedgehog, a game I enjoyed but many others despised, followed on from Sonic Heroes, a game many fans enjoyed. It acted as a direct sequel to Heroes, and considering that this was the last Sonic game before the next-gen games, it didn't act as the best finale for the classic Sonic 3D titles. Then we got Sonic 06 and Sonic and the Secret Rings, and we all saw what happened there. Other games followed on which were hated by fans, such as Sonic and the Black Knight, and of course, the Sonic Boom games, which followed on after the beloved title Sonic Generations. In fact, many said Rise of Lyric was so bad that it was worse than Sonic 06, and was capable of destroying the franchise for good. But, out of nowhere, we are given Sonic Forces. We already had Sonic Mania this year, a game which almost all Sonic fans loved. But Sonic Forces was for the modern fans and the deviant artists.
You still couldn't make me!
Sega could have continued to throw Sonic Boom games at us, but they knew we were mad. That's why they created Sonic Forces. They introduced darker themes to echo the stories of the Sonic Adventure titles, further reflecting on these times with vocal tracks for each stage. They were well aware that thousands of their fans made their own characters, so adding a custom character feature was a choice they made because they knew many fans, including myself, would find joy in creating their own avatars so that they feel more connected to the adventure. Now, as you can already see by the upset fans who didn't like my comment defending the game, many still refuse to see the good things in Sonic Forces because it wasn't an incredible game. But to that I had to point out that making an amazing Sonic game after years of poor titles was borderline impossible. Besides, Sonic Mania is there for the fans who are too picky to understand that it takes time to get back on track. Yes, there were many missed opportunities with Sonic Forces, but we still got a kick-ass soundtrack, beautiful level design, cool gameplay features, and of course, a villain to replace one we lost long ago. Rest in peace, Westopolis, you will be missed. What I'm trying to say is, Sonic Forces could have been better, but it also could have been so much worse. 2017 has been a year of revival for the Sonic franchise, and I personally think that Sega has succeeded in breaking the chain of bad Sonic games. Sonic Forces, in my eyes, is a glimmer of hope. Hopefully Sega will rise back to glory. Sonic Mania will keep them secure for a couple of years or so, unless they release a really god-awful game. And Sonic Forces will remind the fans that the guys over at Sega are trying to listen to us, so we've gotta keep shouting.
Lame!
Okay, so my reasons are lame. But I don't want to be part of the extreme hater crowd or the extreme defender squad. I'm trying to stay in the middle. The game has many bad things about it, but I can see a lot of room for improvement, and I can see that Sega is listening. And hey, we finally got a villain who, in terms of sadistic personality, tops Westopolis. So then, that's the end of my Sonic Forces video. Overall, I enjoyed the game. I had fun playing it after doing my studies, and I appreciate it for what it was. Be sure to leave a comment leaving your thoughts on the game, and leave either a like or a dislike, I don't really care to be honest. I'm sorry that this video is coming out after all the Sonic Mania and Sonic Forces hype, but I had to wait for everything to cool down so that my video didn't get lost in the sea of Insta reviews. Also, kindly remind me to get an artist to represent my stupid mascot thing. This whole drawing I did looks ridiculous. Well guys, would you look at the time of year? It is the end of 2017. Oh my god, this year has been awful. Well, not as bad as 2016, am I right? Anyway, I hope you guys have a lovely Christmas and a happy new year. And let's just hope that next year brings us some great Sonic games. Maybe. Unless Sega screws up again. I'm going off script, so that's why I sound stupid. Anyway, at some point I might actually look at my subscriber count and think of doing a celebration. I might do a face reveal at some point. Let's get it to 1 million, then I'll do a face reveal. I'm Lord Danny, and for the last time in 2017, I am signing out.